If you are close to a breakthrough, do not be surprised when your own shadow begins to speak louder. Curious. There is a particular kind of fear that appears when a woman is not moving toward failure, but toward expansion. It does not always arrive as panic. Sometimes it arrives as doubt, hesitation, sudden exhaustion, or a strange heaviness that makes her question the very path she had been praying to find. Sighs. She begins to see a new possibility for her life. Perhaps more prosperity, more visibility, more emotional freedom, more courage, or a deeper relationship with the work she came here to create. Something inside her begins to move. She may not have the whole map yet, but she senses that the old life is no longer large enough for the woman she is becoming. Excited. Then the old voices begin. What if this does not work? What if I am not ready? What if I succeed and cannot handle what comes next? At first, these thoughts may seem like wisdom. She may tell herself that she is only being realistic, cautious, or responsible. But very often, what appears as realism is the last defense of an old identity that does not want to lose control. Stay with me, because I want to explain this carefully. And before we go deeper, like this video and follow this profile. It helps this message reach more women who are learning to recognize the unconscious patterns that appear just before their lives begin to change. The moment before a breakthrough is rarely as peaceful as people imagine. Sometimes it is the most psychologically charged moment of the entire process, because the old self begins to sense that its authority is ending. The part of you that learned to survive through limitation may not celebrate your expansion. It may become frightened. It may remind you of everything that went wrong before. It may fill your body with the old emotional atmosphere, hoping you will return to what is familiar. This is why many people stop when they are closest to transformation. They are not always stopped by the difficulty of the path. They are stopped by the fear of who they will have to become if the path actually opens. A woman may spend years asking for abundance, longing for a more meaningful life, praying for love, visibility, freedom, or a chance to finally express what lives inside her. Yet when the door begins to open, the unconscious may respond not with celebration, but with alarm. It says, "This is unknown. This is not the life we learned how to survive. We do not know who we are here." The psyche often prefers familiar pain to unfamiliar joy. This does not mean you are weak. It means that your nervous system and your unconscious may still be loyal to a version of life that no longer belongs to your soul. In my work with the psyche, I have seen that human beings are not guided only by what they consciously desire. A woman can say, with complete sincerity, that she wants success, while another part of her quietly fears what success will demand. She may want prosperity, yet a deeper layer of her being associates money with danger, exposure, guilt, conflict, or separation from the people she loves. She may want to be seen, while her body remembers that visibility once brought judgment, envy, punishment, or humiliation. The conscious mind asks for the blessing. The unconscious asks what the blessing will cost. When that hidden question remains unconscious, the woman may begin to sabotage the very thing she has been asking for. She may delay, shrink, doubt, distract herself, return to old relationships, overthink every decision, or suddenly feel unworthy at the exact moment life is asking her to receive more. This is where the shadow becomes active. The shadow is not simply evil, and it is not an enemy outside you. It is the part of your own psyche that was pushed away because it once felt too dangerous, unacceptable, shameful, powerful, or painful to face. Many people believe the shadow contains only anger, envy, fear, shame, and desire. But the shadow also carries disowned strength, hidden ambition, buried confidence, forbidden joy, unclaimed beauty, spiritual authority, and the capacity to receive a larger life. A woman does not repress only her wounds. Sometimes she represses her power. If she was taught to be small, expansion may feel like betrayal. If she was valued only when she was useful, success may feel selfish. If her family survived through scarcity, abundance may feel unsafe. If love was always connected to sacrifice, receiving may make her uncomfortable. If people accepted her only when she was struggling, thriving may awaken guilt. So when she comes close to growth, the shadow may ask a silent question. Who will you become if you no longer suffer in the same way? This question does not always appear as a sentence. It may show up as procrastination, confusion, emotional heaviness, irritation, numbness, a sudden loss of motivation, or a desire to return to something familiar, even though that familiar thing has already hurt her. A woman may be near a financial breakthrough and suddenly feel afraid of responsibility. She imagines problems that have not happened yet. She worries that more money will bring judgment, pressure, exposure, or decisions she does not know how to manage. On the surface, she calls this practical thinking. Beneath the surface, the old identity may be trying to keep her inside limitation. Another woman may be close to receiving healthier love, and instead of relaxing, she becomes suspicious. The person is steady, present, kind, and emotionally available, but her nervous system is used to anxiety. Peace feels strange to a body that learned love through uncertainty. She may begin searching for danger, not because danger is present, but because her old wound is uncomfortable without it. A third woman may be close to expressing her voice, creating her work, being seen, or allowing her gift to take form in the world. Just as she approaches the threshold, an old inner voice asks who she thinks she is. The voice may tell her she will be criticized, misunderstood, exposed, or expected to become more than she can handle. These voices do not automatically mean you should stop. They mean something unconscious is asking to be brought into relationship. The task is not to fight the shadow as if it were a demon. The task is to understand what it protects, what it fears, and what energy it is hiding. If you treat every negative thought as an enemy, you will spend your life in battle with your own psyche. You will try to cancel every doubt, silence every fear, and force positivity over every discomfort. But the unconscious does not transform through violence. It transforms through consciousness. A thought such as, "I cannot do this," may not be the final truth. It may be the voice of a younger part of you that never felt prepared for expansion. A feeling of shame may not prove that you are unworthy. It may be the memory of a time when being visible was unsafe. Fear of success may not mean success is wrong for you. It may mean your psyche has not yet learned how to feel safe inside a larger life. So I would not ask you only, how do we remove this thought? I would ask, what part of you is speaking through it? That question changes the relationship. You are no longer possessed by the fear. You begin to listen to it as a symbol. A woman possessed by fear obeys it, but a woman who listens consciously begins to understand it. And what is understood no longer needs to rule from the dark. There is an image many people know. A person digs through rocks searching for diamonds and gives up just before reaching the treasure. The image is simple, but psychologically powerful. The final layer before the diamond is often difficult because it is not made only of effort. It is made of identity. To reach the diamond, you must become the woman who can receive the diamond. That is where the unconscious often resists. You may believe you are afraid of failure, yet sometimes success is more frightening. Failure allows you to remain in a familiar story. Success forces you to enter a new one. If you fail, the old wound can say, "See, nothing ever changes." That sentence is painful, but familiar. If you succeed, the deeper question becomes, who am I now? This question can be frightening because it asks you to leave an emotional climate you have known for a long time. It asks you to stop using struggle as proof of your value. It asks you to receive without apology, to stop making pain the central evidence that your life is real, and to allow a new woman to emerge. This is why the shadow often speaks at the threshold. A threshold is the space between two identities. Behind you is the old pattern. Ahead of you is the unknown. The ego prefers what it knows, even when what it knows hurts. The soul feels called toward what is new, even when the new is frightening. At this threshold, you must learn discernment. Sometimes heaviness is a warning. Sometimes it means a path is not aligned. But at other times, the heaviness does not belong to the path itself. It belongs to the old identity, resisting its own transformation. A true warning usually has a sober clarity. It may be uncomfortable, but it feels clean. It says, "This is not aligned," without needing panic to make itself heard. A defense is different. It circles, catastrophizes, repeats, paralyzes, and pulls you back toward what is familiar. It does not guide you into truth. It keeps you trapped inside an old emotional structure. To know the difference, you must listen beneath the thoughts. Thoughts are many. The feeling underneath them is deeper. A woman can have thousands of thoughts in a day. If she tries to control every one of them, she becomes exhausted. She may repeat affirmations, cancel negative ideas, and force herself to think positively, while a heavy emotional background remains unchanged. This happens because the psyche is not transformed by words alone. The emotional tone beneath the words is often more powerful than the words themselves. You can say, "I am worthy," while your body still feels unworthy. You can say, "I am abundant," while receiving still activates guilt or panic. You can say, "I trust," while your nervous system prepares for loss. The unconscious does not respond only to the sentence. It responds to the emotional truth attached to it. This is why the heart matters, not in a sentimental way, but as the center of lived feeling. When a woman's emotional field is dominated by fear, shame, guilt, or anxiety, her thoughts begin to organize around that atmosphere. She may try to think her way into confidence, but the deeper feeling continues to guide perception. She may speak the right words, while her body still expects the old result. The feeling becomes the hidden ruler. That is why inner work must go beneath mental repetition. If you want to cross into a new life, thinking differently is not enough. You must begin to feel safe enough to become different. This happens through integration, not force. Integration means that you stop rejecting the fearful part of you and begin to bring it into conscious relationship. You do not let it govern you, but you also do not exile it. You speak to it. You ask what it protects. You show it that the adult woman can move forward without abandoning the frightened part within her. The ego says, "I must destroy my fear." The self says, "I must understand what my fear is protecting." When a woman begins to relate to fear this way, fear becomes less demonic. It becomes a messenger. It may still be intense, but it is no longer the only authority in the room. The adult self begins to lead. This is especially important when you are close to success, because success is not merely an external event. It is an inner enlargement. It asks your nervous system, your identity, your relationships, your habits, and your self-image to reorganize. If the inner structure remains loyal to the old life, external success can feel threatening. You may push it away, delay it, diminish it, or unconsciously create problems so that you can return to the emotional state you already know. This is why some people repeat scarcity after receiving money. It is not always lack of capacity. Sometimes it is a lack of inner permission to remain expanded. They receive and then panic. They grow and then sabotage. They are seen and then hide. They come close to the diamond and then stop digging, not because the diamond has disappeared, but because the old identity has become terrified. If this message is helping you recognize the shadow that appears before your breakthrough, like this video now, let that small action become a signal to your own unconscious that you are ready to stop mistaking fear for destiny. Now we must speak about the adversary within. In many spiritual traditions, the adversary is described as the force that tempts the human being away from the path. Psychologically, this image is powerful because the greatest resistance often appears inside the soul itself. The adversary is not always another person, an external obstacle, or some visible enemy. Very often, it is the divided condition of the psyche, one part moving toward wholeness while another clings to the old fragmentation. The human being is divided between the conscious and the unconscious, between what is accepted and what is rejected, between what is lived and what is feared. Individuation is the process by which these divided parts are brought into deeper unity. Not perfection, not purity, but wholeness. To become whole, you must stop pretending that your fear is not part of you. You must stop imagining that success will arrive only when every doubt disappears. The shadow may speak most strongly when you are most ready to grow. Your task is not to obey it. Your task is to bring it into consciousness. A woman who can say, "I am afraid of success," is already more free than the woman who only says, "Something always goes wrong." The first has begun to name the inner conflict. The second still believes life is the only force acting against her. When you name the shadow, you begin to withdraw projections. You stop blaming only the world, the timing, the circumstances, the people around you, or fate itself. You begin to ask where your own unconscious has participated in the repetition, not to shame yourself, because shame closes the psyche, but to recover power. There is great dignity in saying, "Something in me is afraid to receive what I have asked for." That sentence is not weakness. It is consciousness, and consciousness is the beginning of freedom. Once fear becomes conscious, you can work with it. You can ask what you believe will happen if you succeed, who might be disappointed if you prosper, what identity you would have to release if struggle were no longer the center of your story, and what kind of responsibility you are afraid to carry. These questions go deeper than forced positivity because they reach the root. A woman may discover that she fears judgment. Another may fear outgrowing people she loves. Someone else may feel that abundance could make her less humble, less spiritual, or less connected. Another may fear that visibility will bring attack. Beneath it all, there may be a hidden terror that if she truly wins, she will no longer have an excuse to remain unseen. The shadow is intelligent. It knows the exact door through which fear enters, but the self is deeper than the shadow. The self does not ask you to become arrogant, hardened, or disconnected. It asks you to become whole enough to carry what belongs to you. It asks you to hold prosperity with consciousness, visibility with humility, love with discernment, and success with a rooted soul. This is the difference between egoic success and integrated success. Egoic success tries to prove something. Integrated success expresses something. One says, "Look at me, now I matter." The other says, "I am allowing the life within me to take form." The first remains hungry no matter how much it receives. The second becomes a vessel. If you are close to winning, do not ask only how you can succeed. Ask who within you is ready to receive success. If the inner vessel is too small, the blessing may overflow into anxiety. Not because the blessing is wrong, but because the psyche has not yet expanded enough to hold it. Preparation matters. If your work grows, you may need structure, knowledge, organization, support, discipline, boundaries, and practical maturity. But beneath every external preparation, there is another one, more hidden and more demanding: the preparation of identity. The deeper question is whether you can receive without guilt, grow without abandoning your soul, become visible without handing your worth over to approval, prosper without losing tenderness, and succeed without turning success into your God. These are not small questions. They are initiation questions. The woman near a breakthrough is being initiated into a larger version of herself. The test does not always arrive dramatically. It may appear as fear, delay, criticism, or the sudden temptation to return to an old relationship, habit, environment, insecurity, or belief. The real question is whether she will remain loyal to the old identity or become faithful to the life that is calling her forward. This is why many women must become careful with the environments they enter and the people they allow near their emotional field. When a new possibility is still forming, the psyche is tender. A careless word can activate an old wound. Cynicism can awaken shame. A chaotic environment can pull the nervous system back into survival. A jealous glance can make a woman doubt her own light if her center is not yet stable. This does not mean you must fear people. It means you must protect what is still forming. A seed is not weak because it needs the right conditions. A beginning is not fragile because it asks for care. A breakthrough is not less real because it needs protection before it becomes rooted.
There are seasons when you cannot expose your inner life to every opinion. You cannot tell your dream to people who only know how to speak from fear. You cannot keep returning to places that make you ashamed of becoming more. You cannot ask for confirmation from those who benefit from your smallness. Protecting your feeling does not mean living in denial. It means guarding the soil where your future is beginning to grow. Your inner world is shaped by the conversations you utter, the images you consume, the music you repeat, the places you visit, the memories you rehearse, the people you trust, and the stories you keep telling about yourself. The psyche is always being shaped. Every environment leaves an imprint, and every repeated emotion strengthens a path. Day by day, you are either feeding the old identity or nourishing the woman who is trying to emerge. This is not about perfection. It is about stewardship. You are the guardian of your inner life. If you want to cross into a new level of prosperity, peace, love, or purpose, you cannot keep treating your feelings as if they do not matter. You cannot say you want abundance while emotionally rehearsing scarcity every day. You cannot say you want peace while constantly entering conversations that make your soul contract. You cannot say you want guidance while ignoring every subtle message your body and unconscious are sending. The hidden work is not glamorous. It is daily. It happens when you notice that your feeling has fallen back into the old story and gently return it to truth. It happens when you refuse to let one intrusive thought become a prophecy. It happens when you care for the frightened part without giving it the steering wheel. It happens when you remember that the shadow becomes less dangerous once it is brought into consciousness. And perhaps the most important thing is this: when fear appears, do not turn back immediately. Pause long enough to ask whether the fear is warning you away from something false, or whether it is protecting an old identity from change. That question may save your next chapter. Because if you retreat every time the shadow speaks, you may call hesitation wisdom and never discover the life waiting just beyond your resistance.
Now I want to take you deeper into the emotional field, because this is where many women misunderstand their own transformation. Thoughtful. Most people believe that thoughts are the strongest force shaping their lives. They try to control every idea that appears, cancel every doubt, replace every fear, and repeat phrases they hope will overpower the old pattern. Inner speech matters, of course. The words you repeat to yourself can either open or close your inner world. Pause. But the unconscious is not changed by words alone. It responds to the emotional reality beneath those words. A woman can tell herself she is safe while her body is still preparing for danger. She can repeat that she is worthy while shame continues shaping her posture, her choices, and the way she receives love. She can speak of abundance while her nervous system quietly associates receiving with guilt, pressure, loss, or exposure. This is why she may feel frustrated. She believes she is doing the inner work, yet the same emotional background remains. Her mind is trying to move forward, but her body is still living inside the old truth. She repeats confidence, yet beneath the sentence there is fear. She speaks of prosperity, yet something in her still waits for lack to return. The emotional tone becomes the atmosphere of the psyche, and the unconscious breathes that atmosphere. This does not make thoughts powerless. It means thoughts become more powerful when they are connected to a feeling the body can actually believe. A forced affirmation may stay on the surface, but an emotional shift that feels true can move through the whole system. So when you are close to a breakthrough, your task is not to pretend that fear does not exist. Your task is to place fear inside a larger emotional field. Instead of forcing yourself to say that you are never afraid, you can admit that fear is present without allowing it to become the whole truth of who you are. Instead of promising yourself that nothing will ever go wrong, you can remind your body that whatever comes, you will meet it with more consciousness than before. Instead of demanding that you feel completely ready, you can begin by learning how to feel safe while becoming more visible, more prosperous, and more alive. This kind of language matters because it does not lie to the body. It gives the body a bridge. The psyche changes more deeply through bridges than through violence. If your emotional system is afraid and you demand instant confidence, you create inner conflict. But when you recognize the fear and gently open a new possibility, the body begins to soften. It may not transform in one moment, but it receives a direction it can follow. This is real alchemy, not the childish fantasy of turning pain into gold without entering the fire. Real alchemy requires contact with the material. You cannot transform what you refuse to touch. If fear is present, it must be brought into the vessel. If shame is present, it must be seen. If guilt blocks prosperity, guilt must be understood. If success feels unsafe, you must ask when expansion became associated with danger. Alchemy is not denial. It is transformation through consciousness. The heart, in this sense, becomes central. Not because every emotion should rule you, but because feeling is one of the deepest languages of the unconscious. A single memory, a person, a room, a sentence, or even a look can return you to an old state before the conscious mind has time to explain what happened. Feeling moves quickly because it touches the older layers of the psyche. This is why your emotional field must be protected when you are close to a breakthrough. A woman who is about to change her life cannot be careless with what she allows into her inner world. If she is surrounded by cynicism, panic, envy, gossip, despair, or people who mock her expansion, the old self will find nourishment. The shadow will use those voices as evidence that it is safer to stay small. It will tell her that growth is dangerous, visibility is foolish, and desire is something she should apologize for. But when she places herself near what strengthens her soul, a different inner climate begins to form. A clear conversation, a moment of prayer, music that brings her back into her body, silence, nature, study, or the presence of people who help her nervous system remember that life is not only threat. All of this can begin to create new soil inside her. You cannot live a new life while constantly feeding the emotional atmosphere of the old one. This is why people who sustain success are not necessarily people without fear. Often they are people who have learned to protect the inner state from which they act. They understand that when the emotional field collapses, decisions lose clarity. When shame takes the throne, creativity retreats. When fear governs the body, opportunity is interpreted as danger. This is emotional discipline. It is not repression. It is not false positivity. It is the decision not to feed unnecessary poison to the psyche. A woman who protects her feeling is not pretending that nothing is wrong. She is choosing not to let everything that is wrong become the ruler of her inner world. She can see the problem without being possessed by it. She can feel fear without obeying it. She can hear criticism without building an identity around it. She can experience delay without deciding that life has forgotten her. This maturity is necessary because success amplifies whatever is still unconscious. If a woman enters expansion with unexamined shame, success may make her feel exposed. If she enters prosperity with hidden guilt, money may create anxiety instead of peace. If she becomes visible while still ruled by the fear of judgment, recognition can feel like danger. If she grows while remaining loyal to people who only accept her smallness, she may feel torn between her calling and her belonging. This is why the shadow appears before victory. It is not only trying to block you, it is also revealing what must be integrated before you can carry the next stage without losing yourself. A woman who wants a larger life must become inwardly capable of holding a larger life. Visibility asks for rootedness. Prosperity asks for responsibility. Love asks for discernment. Purpose asks for devotion. Freedom asks for truth. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The psyche does not give birth to a larger life without asking the woman to become larger within herself. If the inner structure is not prepared, the outer blessing can become overwhelming. She may receive exactly what she wanted and then unconsciously recreate the old emotional state because the new one feels too unfamiliar. This is why you must stop asking only how to get there. You must also ask who you are becoming and whether your inner world is able to remain peaceful once the door opens. That question changes the quality of ambition. Ambition without consciousness can become possession. It can turn into hunger, comparison, desperation, or the need to prove. But ambition integrated with the self becomes calling. It is no longer about taking more from life. It becomes the expression of what life placed within you. A woman led only by ego wants success to heal her wound. A woman guided by the self allows healing to make her capable of true success. The difference is profound. If success is asked to prove your worth, you will remain afraid. Every result will feel like a test of your existence. Every delay will feel like rejection. Every criticism will feel like annihilation. But when you begin to know your worth before the result, success becomes expression rather than salvation. You do not need success to become real. You need to become real so that success does not devour you. This is why inner work is not separate from prosperity, purpose, love, or achievement. It is the hidden foundation. Without it, the outer life may grow faster than the soul can hold. With it, even slow growth becomes meaningful because it is rooted in wholeness. Now I want to speak to the woman who is almost giving up. Perhaps you are tired because you have been digging for a long time. Perhaps you cannot see the diamond yet. You may be wondering whether your effort has been wasted or whether the resistance you feel means the path is wrong. Before you abandon what your soul has been building, pause long enough to ask whether this resistance is guidance or whether it is the shadow trying to pull you back into what is familiar. There are moments when stopping is necessary. A path that violates your soul should not be forced. A door that requires self-abandonment should not be worshipped. A dream that has lost its life may need to be released. But there are also moments when stopping is not surrender. It is fear. Discernment is everything. If the path still carries a thread of life, if your deeper self still recognizes it, and if the resistance appears mainly as shame, fear of judgment, fear of responsibility, or fear of becoming more visible, then perhaps you are not being asked to quit. Perhaps you are being asked to mature. A breakthrough often requires a new container. If prosperity feels overwhelming, you may need structure. If visibility frightens you, you may need deeper rootedness. If success awakens guilt, you may need to examine the old loyalties that taught you to remain small. If you are afraid of managing more, you may need support, education, guidance, and practical grounding. The answer is not always to turn back. Sometimes the answer is to become capable. This is a compassionate way to meet the shadow. When it tells you that you cannot handle more, you do not need to collapse under that sentence. You can decide to learn. When it says you are not ready, you can prepare. When it says everything is too much, you can choose one conscious step instead of surrendering your future to panic. The adult woman does not need to be fearless. She needs to become able to lead fear. This leadership begins in the body. When intrusive thoughts appear, do not immediately follow them into catastrophe. Stop for a moment and notice the feeling beneath the thought. Perhaps it is fear, shame, guilt, grief, or the anxiety of expansion. Place your attention near the heart, not to escape the mind, but to reconnect thought with feeling. Breathe slowly and ask what this feeling is trying to protect. Then speak to it as the adult woman. You can acknowledge that the new feels frightening. You can recognize that staying small once seemed safer. You can thank this inner part for trying to protect you, while making it clear that fear will not be allowed to decide your whole future. This is not childish. It is mature inner leadership. The unconscious responds when it is treated with respect. A rejected part becomes more primitive. A listen-to part becomes more cooperative. You do not need to obey every emotion, but you do need to stop despising the parts of yourself that are afraid. After this, choose an action aligned with the woman you are becoming. It does not have to be dramatic. It has to be faithful. You may send the message that opens a door, finish the page, make the call, organize the numbers, study what you need to learn. Rest before you collapse. Leave the environment that pulls you back into shame, or enter the room where your future is being formed. The specific action matters less than the inner message it sends. Expansion can be safe when the adult self is present. The unconscious learns through lived experience. Each grounded act of courage weakens the old fear's authority. Each time you remain present instead of retreating, the body learns a new pattern. Each time you receive something good without punishing yourself afterward, the psyche expands its capacity. This is how destiny changes, not by destroying the shadow, but by integrating the energy trapped inside it. The shadow that once told you not to grow may contain the power to protect your growth. Fear can become discernment. Shame can become humility without self-erasure. Envy can reveal desire. Anger can become boundary. Ambition, once judged and hidden, can become devotion to your calling. Nothing in the psyche is wasted when it becomes conscious. This is why you should not hate the adversary within. You must understand it. The divided self becomes dangerous when it remains unconscious. But once it is brought into relationship, even the opposing force can become part of your wholeness. The energy that once sabotaged you can be reclaimed and placed in service of your life. This is individuation. It is the movement from division toward inner unity. You are no longer one woman in public and another in hiding. You are no longer ruled by a shadow you refuse to meet. You no longer have to call every inner conflict a sign to quit. You begin to understand that the resistance you feared may be guarding the threshold of your next stage. Before we close, think of one woman who is standing at the edge of a breakthrough but has begun to doubt herself. Send this video to her. She may not need another motivational speech. She may need to understand that the shadow often speaks loudest before the soul crosses into a new identity.
Now write in the comments the city where you are watching from and tell me if this message made sense to you. What thought appeared in your mind when you were about to grow? Was it fear of failure? Fear of success? Fear of judgment? Fear of responsibility? Or fear of becoming someone your old life could no longer contain? If this reflection spoke to your soul, like this video and follow this profile. Here we continue exploring the unconscious, the shadow, anxiety, prosperity, feminine power, and the journey back to yourself. For the next 7 days, practice this. Whenever a negative thought appears near an important step, do not fight it immediately. Write it down and look for the feeling beneath it. Ask what that feeling is trying to protect. Then choose one grounded action that belongs to the woman you are becoming. If the thought says you cannot handle more, your action may be to learn one skill. If it says people will judge you, your action may be to share your work with one safe person. If it says you do not deserve this, your action may be to receive one small good thing without apologizing for it. If it says you should turn back, your action may be to pause long enough to discern whether this is guidance or fear. Do not let the shadow decide in the dark. Bring it into consciousness. The moment before victory may not feel like victory. It may feel like pressure, doubt, temptation, confusion, or the return of old emotional patterns. But this does not mean you are failing. It may mean the unconscious is revealing the last material that must be integrated before you can sustain the next level of your life. So when fear appears, do not automatically retreat. Listen to it, understand it, but do not crown it. You are not here to remain 1 inch from the diamond because an old part of you became afraid of the light. You are here to become whole enough to receive what belongs to your soul. And when your shadow speaks at the threshold, remember this. The adversary within is not stronger than the self. It is only louder when it has not yet been understood. Bring it into consciousness. Protect your emotional field. Take the next faithful step, and little by little, the woman who once stopped before the breakthrough becomes the woman who can finally cross the threshold. I see you in my next video.